Hello, and welcome to the exciting Season 2, Episode 3 of My Dog Will Eat My Face. And actually, today's episode might not be too exciting. I just thought I'd throw it out there to see if I could carry with it. And it just made me feel too self-centered, and I didn't like that. Anyway, moving on to today's episode, I wanted to talk about something that's actually very, very personal to me. And it's going to be difficult for me to address this because I am going to talk about something that is new in my life, but something that is happening to me as part of this process of dying. Now, I don't know if everyone who goes through this process gets an experience such as this, but I'm one of the lucky ones, and I get to go through this process. And that process doesn't really have a name. At least none that I'm aware of. But what it honestly is experiencing psychotic episodes throughout the end time that I have here on this earth. Now, I think everyone knows now why I didn't have a title for it. What do you call it when you start to lose your mind? When you start to become what? Less witty? When you become somewhat of a decay of what you once were when the process first began. What do you call it? There might be some jerks out there that will say, "Oh, it's called aging." Yeah, that's cute and funny. And I've never heard it before in my life. That's why it's so funny. But aside from jokes, what do you call it when one really begins to lose who they are? I will probably have to look up what that is, if there's a single word for that or not. At this point in time, I don't have one ready yet. But anyway, that's what today's episode is about. And the reason why today's episode is about that is because I am the lucky winner to experience this onslaught in the real time and in the flesh. So, go ahead and buckle up. This will be an emotional podcast, I'd imagine, because I'm going to be talking about things that have been happening to me that I am not proud of. I plan to talk about things that I would much rather bury and forget about. But if there are others like me who are in the early stages, still, I'll put it, of hospice. Well, I got that wrong. Hospice. Hospice is what I meant to say. I'm even getting words wrong as I talk now. Of course, I meant to say hospice. So, sit back and enjoy as I dig into what I think is no less than the most horrific, the most vile way for a person to disintegrate from this earth. So, what the hell is happening to me anyway? You know, it started with simple things. I would forget a word for something, an expression, maybe. Nothing too climatic. I mean, throughout my life, once in a while, of course, I forget a phrase or a word. Because there just simply is so many. Every once in a while, you fail to find the pasture on which that word or that saying is within your gray matter. I'm talking about, though, something much more diabolical. I go through moments, periods of time, where I think that I'm dreaming. And the reason why I think I'm dreaming is I get incredible mental pressure that seems to tell me that reality just is not reality anymore. Now, thankfully, my dreams are extraordinarily boring. I don't try to swim or fly or race a beautiful '69 Jaguar, because that I all do in my routine today. I'm totally kidding, I don't, but if I did do that in my routine, I'd be doing something right now, not making a podcast. Just saying. I go forth as though I'm dreaming because I feel like I'm in a dream state. And that's really the only reason. So I feel like whatever's happening is not real. I have a strong, overwhelming sense that I can't quite describe, except when you have a very vivid dream and you happen to know also it's a dream. You're lucid. You have a lucid dream. And that, with that, there's kind of like a burning sensation in my head underneath that's telling me this isn't real. It's very hard to describe, but it truly is all in my head. The change of how I feel and it's not triggered by anything. It's not because I'm seeing Oompa Loompas walking around or the Pope is playing the banjo in the corner or anything like that. It's just like a buzz, an electric buzz inside my head. Now, at first, this buzz I didn't really care about because it was a rather obscure event. It didn't happen often. And so it was easy to write off, but it happened again. And again. And in all those circumstances, I know I wasn't dreaming. when my brain was referring to that moment, that was a memory, not a dream. It didn't take time for me to become terrified of that buzz-like feeling. I'm sorry I'm trailing off. It's so difficult to describe it. I hope there's other men out there or women that have experienced this and have a better vocabulary to describe it. But I've come to learn that's not a dream. It's a psychotic episode. And what happened to me, especially now knowing what it is, I absolutely hated it. Because I saw it. As I saw it, it was something to fear. I had no control really of what was happening. And I knew the feeling that I had was wrong. It was real. So as time went by, I came to fear that feeling. That strange, buzzing, like burning feeling at the base of my mind that would barge into my life here and there. And honestly, thankfully, I was aware of it because I never did anything too crazy. but what it did was much worse. Far worse than giving me the bravery to do something outlandish and stupid. It gave me the most terrifying feeling I've ever had in my life. I'm sure you, the kind listener, wants to know what that thing was. The most terrifying thing in the universe. I didn't know what was real and what was not real. That's it. You might think nothing of that, but for me, the simple component of not knowing whether or not my experience was real or fake was enough to make me feel so unhinged from life itself, so distant from whatever daily experience I was, at least what I thought I was experiencing. It was so unhinging at its root in my brain and my life. They knew that my concept of reality itself was broken. And that's just what I was aware of. I knew my mind was dying. See, when your heart fails and it goes through the failure over a long period of time, I'm sure it's of no surprise that it begins to fail other organs. My kidneys are a great example. I'm now basically going through full-on kidney failure. Partly because the diuretics that I take are firebombing my kidneys, but most assuredly because my heart was failing. And because of that, other organs are going to go with it. these other organs that obviously depend upon the heart. When that was first explained to me, I didn't think much of it, except, well, that's kind of a bummer. I could not get a lame starting job at a burger joint if I wanted. I don't know what is real anymore. My brain is dying on me. It is an organ like all the others, dependent on blood, dependent on oxygen, dependent upon my heart to pump these things to it. And since it doesn't have that, as well as it should, my brain is dying. No, don't get me wrong. It's not like one of the many terminal brain diseases you see out there. It's nothing like that. But it's a slow pestilence, a depravity, slowly devouring that vital organ. So that's a problem. It is the biggest problem I've ever had in my life. I now have psychotic breaks. Sometimes they last a whole day. Or that damned burning sensation. Can be felt all day long. And I couldn't tell you for the life of me what's real, what's not. It feels like I'm in a dream state. Exactly what it feels like is a big, long dream. And similar to a dream, I couldn't tell you what happened or what didn't happen half the time. I'm losing my mind. That's the one thing I can't lose. That's the one thing that keeps me, me. And there's nothing I can do about it. Today alone, I had a psychotic episode. I left long voice messages for people. I rammed through corporate requirements around something. And it wasn't until around 4 p.m. when it had stopped and I realized that I was coming down from a prolonged episode. And that's not the longest episode I've had. Not by a long shot. I guess I have to find a way to endure this. But right now, my silence otherwise is indicative of the fact that I don't know how to endure this. So, where does this leave me today? I have to come to coexist with some facts. I've shared my issues with my condition, with my medical power of attorney. It's smart for someone in my condition to have someone who has the power of attorney. Medical. It's a medical power of attorney. But other than that, there's really not much else I can do. write down a lot so I don't forget things. You know, the problem is, it is such a good, beautiful world in so many ways, in such an ugly world in so many ways, that you don't want to miss them. So I write them down, make a note to myself when someone's an a-hole, and when someone is giving and nice. Hopefully, my psychosis doesn't block out such big things as that. But it might block out things to where, yeah, it would be prudent to make a memory of those things. Or at least have someone around me who does. So, that's about all I can do for right now. I vaguely recall someone telling me that I said I was going to reserve my next episode for my sister or something. I have no clue what that could be about. I've got an in-law sister and a biological sister, and I don't know what they would have to say on the podcast. So maybe I just dreamt that. I don't know. But it's going to be hard. It's going to make life a lot more difficult. That's all there is to it. And I have no choice in it. But hey, that's life. And that's what matters most. So I'll do the best I can to live my life. With my memories tucked away somewhere nice and safe. Or do I wear just a micro? texting me yet. All accounts, I don't know. Yes, I won't know until I find out. I don't know why. My friends. That's all I got to do. Just try to monitor those people in my life. Redouble my efforts to look like. That's about it. Wish me luck. I'll wish you luck too, my kind listeners. Full round of luck for the whole team. We're going to need it. Well, my dear listener, I think this is where I will sum up this week's podcast. I do thank you immensely for your listenership. I absolutely appreciate that very much. Especially since the very day that I'm recording this, at least the most of this podcast, is on the backside of a day where I had a psychotic episode until just shy of about 1600, just shy of about 4 p.m. So I am working for you as best as I can to get these podcasts out and as meaningful as they are, since I decided that today's subject matter should be what's most on my mind, and that is really how am I going to live with this natural terrorism in my way. Terrifying me as I try to move forward. Anyway, we've already talked about that. So, thank you for chiming in and listening. If you made it this far in the podcast, I truly, truly thank you from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate it very much. Now, I actually have a gifting room, a little merchandise room. It's kind of like, it was like, it was exactly stored like a, oh my God. I don't know how else. Whatever thing. Anyway. We'll find out who attends the city this week pretty soon. Anyway, thank you for listening in, and thank you for chiming in, and thank you for listening to the podcast. That illustrates tremendous devotion, and I truly thank you from the bottom of my heart. What's left of it. See, I can still make wisecracks about my own death. That's a good sign. Anywho, with all that being said, I will now wish you well. I hope to speak with you next week. But, as always, for now, auf Wiedersehen.